So this is the first trip of the season. So when we approach the island, what we're going to do is set a stern anchor. We'll unload the gear. And what I want maybe you three to do is to basically head straight for the tucks, the forested area, and kind of look for areas where the birds, if there's birds there, there should be trails where they come out, and just kind of hold tight there. If any birds are coming out, just try to scoop them up, and we'll bring up a few cat crates with us when we come. So if you have some birds, we'll be kind of ready to go. Good. Okay, we'll get this. We're ready to go? We're working on common eiders, and in common eiders there's several subspecies, and we're working on the American subspecies of common eider, which breeds from southern Labrador south into the US, into Maine and Massachusetts. And this subspecies, it's undergoing changes in its distribution. Just grab the bow line there. We want to just leave, we're going to let, so you can just run that up there, Lee. Just go through this stuff and see what we can find. And I'm going to come behind with a couple of crates just in case. You can head up with them, Shane. You can head up with those guys. So this study that we're working on now is primarily to understand the distributional changes in the eiders. We're looking at how they are connected between where they breed, where their migration routes, and where they overwinter. So to do that, we're using satellite telemetry. So we put radio tags or an implant that's put in the abdominal cavity of the bird. And we are able to track the bird's movements for maybe up to 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. And so they'll give us a very good idea of the connections between where they winter, where they breed, and all the habitats they use in between.
Hey, there you go, buddy. They're gonna bust out this way. We'll come down through here. See you there? This is only number 2.
So the oceans are warming really rapidly, and it's having profound effects on the marine systems. And in the Gulf of Maine is amongst the highest rates of warming in the global oceans. And we think that that is having impacts on the quality of food for eiders. The blue mussels, which is the primary food for eiders, there's been steep declines in its abundance across the Gulf of Maine. But in the northern part of their wintering range, so in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, the warming waters are actually good, because as the water warms, there's less sea ice and more habitat available. We think that it's better probably for the blue mussels. And this is why we think that their distributions are changing.
There's a lot of really good nests for traps.
And we may not need them if you keep pulling birds like that.
We're walking through kind of this raspberry scrubby brush. Birds are sitting on the nest. A lot of them are flushing, but the goal is we're kind of working in teams of 3, and we have people pushing the birds. They'd like to fly into the wind, but if they can't, because I'm standing there, they're going to try and go another way, and we have the 2 other netters there ready to catch them. So it's kind of a scramble, but so far so good. Perfect.
So we're sedating the bird. We find that it helps with survival. So we're using midazolam. It sedates the bird, but also has an amnesic quality. And really what it's doing is it's reducing the stress level in the bird from being handled. And so all we're doing right now is, because we're catching birds, is we're just giving the time that the midazolam was given, so the vets will know which birds to process first.
I've got a confused. 49.5. 50.6.
Oh, there you go. Yep, 297. I don't even know if I need to take this one. So we're measuring body condition in the birds, and the body condition that we're using, the index of condition, is body mass corrected for body size. So we take several structural measurements that we can use to correct for body size. That brings everybody to a common size and looks at their relative weights. The vets play a pretty important role. The vets we're working with here, we've been working with since the mid-90s. So they're very experienced in implanting these radios in the birds. So they open up the abdominal cavity of the bird and they place the radio. And there's an antenna. They look a little bit like a roboduck when they're done, because they have an antenna that's then used to transmit the information from the radio to the satellite. Yeah, so the tags that we're putting in the birds, they're a radio tag that communicates with a satellite, and we're able to acquire the position. So every time the tag transmits, it uplinks data to the satellite, and we're able to estimate its position. So with that, we're able to track the bird's movements. And the radios that we're using, we should be able to track their movements over just over 3 years. So it's providing information on the migratory paths of birds, the connections between breeding areas. Another key part of the life cycle we're interested is where they molt. So most of waterfowl, when they molt all of their primaries at the same time and are flightless for about a month. And then it also connects us to the wintering areas, so we can understand the structure of the population and the connections between the breeding areas and the wintering areas. We thought with the banding data, we had it. It takes many, many years of bandings and recoveries to establish those patterns. But the changes have been so dramatic and so fast. It's difficult with the banding to detect those changes. So we're using the satellite telemetry, satellite tracking, which provides us immediate feedback on the movement of the birds. The information that's being used now is collected live. As soon as we release the birds, they're transmitting, and that information gets fed back to us every day. So that provides us information on the key habitats that they use and the habitats that we might want to protect, from development or from maybe even some fisheries. We might not want certain fisheries to happen in places that are key either for production for young, or for overwintering. And already we're using that information in the siting of some of these overwater wind turbine sites. So it's become a very important piece of information to identify the areas of risk for sea ducks where they might be building some of these offshore wind turbine sites. That's a good example of how the information may be used.